All right. Here we are. It's 4th of July. Happy Tuesday morning to everybody. I don't believe I'm doing this, but we're doing this. It's it's totally different Tuesday now. It's not Thursday. It's not Thursday night. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday morning, and it's the 4th of July. I guess this is the definition of totally driven entertainment because we just don't ever stop. So, there's actually two men that inspired this whole situation. The one being the one and only Mr. Evel Knievel, with his long, illustrious red, white, and blue career that truly changed so many people's lives still to this day. And this past weekend was finally the huge official grand opening of the Evel Knievel Museum. And we had our good friend, and I guess you could say now our correspondent, was on the job all weekend with a big shit-eating grin on his face, having a lot of fun, and just chomping at the bit to come back and tell us the whole weekend. And that man is the one and only, the Pitbull, Mr. Henry Rife. What's going on there, Henry? Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Happy 4th of July. And I'm not the one with the shit-eating grin. I'm the one that made all these people that couldn't go to the museum eat shit. So, sorry about your luck, Bay.
Yeah, I was one of them. I was eating that shit. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, it really was. I mean, watching you and everybody else who in the Evel Knievel community that actually attended and were putting the pictures up, it truly just looked like not only just an amazing place, but just a great time was had by all.
Let me give you a little background. Years and years ago, I was involved with a promoter. His name was Don Ogle. And, this was back in 98. So it's been a while ago. And he was actually involved with Evel. Evel was trying to put together a museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And this guy was studying Daredevils, and he come across me, and we started talking. And he offered to try and do some promotions for me. And one of the things he did was put me in contact with Evel himself. And out of nowhere, I get a phone call one night. Get this very familiar voice, Henry there. Yeah, this is Henry. Henry, this is Evel Knievel. And there was no doubting, nobody could fool that voice. And this started my, I guess you would say, I finally got into the inner circle. And Evel offered to fly me to Las Vegas, which I accepted. And we went there to talk about the museum that they were planning for Pigeon Forge. And also, we were going to promote it, we were going to talk about doing a show with Robbie Knievel, his son. And unfortunately, the guy that was doing the promotion, Don, he's a great guy. I talked to him one night, and about 90 minutes later after we hung up, I got a phone call, and it was a woman asking me who this was on the phone, and I told her, and she said, well, Don just died. He laid down to go to sleep, and I guess he had an aneurysm in his sleep.
Oh.
So, yeah, that pretty much put the skids on Pigeon Forge. I understand one of Evel's bikes was acquired there, and it ended up being, I got a story on that, but we'll get to that later. Just remind me. But anyway, this has been a very long dream of Evel Knievel to have this museum. I really don't think, he's like all Daredevils, he had a bit of a egomaniac going on, but I actually met him and hung out with him, and he was a very nice guy. He's the king, and he knew it, and everybody else knew it. And he handled it very graciously. And there's a lot of people telling me, "Oh, you better not go. He's going to disappoint you because he's kind of, overbearing, whatever." They said that about Robbie too, and I got to say, both those guys were great. So years and years later, I start getting in contact with a fella named Lathan McKay, and he started acquiring Evil's bikes. And actually, that Pigeon Forge bike, I went down Tennessee just on a vacation, and I seen a big sign that said, "The Evel Knievel XR 750 is here." So, of course, I had to go check it out. Walked in there, and the owners of the museum were very gracious, and they let me crawl all over the bike and take pictures with it. And the sign said it was a 1963 Harley Davidson XLR. I'm not real familiar with those, but what it turned out to be was the gas tank and the fender, the rear fender of the Wembley bike, put on top of a Roger Raymond XLR motorcycle, which anybody that knows Evel Knievel, Roger Raymond was Evel Knievel's main mechanic. And unfortunately, I believe in '95 he was racing, he's a world champion flat track racer. And he was racing in the Masters class, and he had an accident and got killed. So Roger couldn't make it to the opening of the museum, and I believe one other crew member didn't make it. That was Larry Monroe, and that was unfortunate. But everybody else of Evel's crew was there, and so back to me and Lathan getting to know each other. He asked me about this bike. I told him where it was, so he went on a mission to track it down and acquire it, which he did. And he took off the pieces he wanted, eventually got the other, the rest of it. But the tank and the rear fender are pretty priceless. And I helped him get a hold of Robbie's manager, who owned the semi, Big Red, and they did a whole, I don't know, you remember the TV show, they did a big bunch of shit where they acted like it was missing for years and nobody knew where it was and all that.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yes.
And they had it like Bubba Blackwell was the only one that knew where it was, and gosh, guys, I'll tell you, I know exactly where it's at. Well, whatever. I never really cared about being associated with that. I just, for years, I have harped online, and people can back this up. I show pictures of a completely destroyed Big Red that was painted blue and white because Robbie had it painted to suit him for a 1981-82 World Tour. So he painted the iconic red and white truck and made it blue and white. And they come out with this show of this, probably if not one of the most famous celebrity motorsport haulers ever, and it was just sitting in his junkyard wasting away. And I knew about this because of Don, the promoter, Don Ogle. He went and looked at it. Evel took him and showed it to him. And there's pictures of Don and Evel standing by Big Red. That's how I knew where it was, and that was in the late 90s. But we discussed what should be done, and with me harping on the internet about the condition this truck was in. And it was really pushing the boundaries of getting to the point of no return. And it was very upsetting that this, it's iconic, but it was also a piece of our childhood.
Absolutely.
Was just wasting away and neglected. And it didn't have to be that way. I just knew it needed to be in the hands of the right person. And, 7.5 billion people on this planet, and there's only one person that could get this done, and that's Lathan McKay. And my hat is off to everything he's done. He says a lot of times in posts, he'll post a picture and he just puts on their passion. Well, that's exactly what it is. So you fast forward to last Friday, I gathered up my wonderful parents and a crew member / family member, Mr. Mike Johnson, and we jumped in the old Cherokee and went to visit Topeka. So that's where.
Now, how long of a drive was that for you?
About, with traffic and everything, it's about 13.5 hours. I think we got back last night. We did it at about 12.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I guess the award for the most time involved is Darren and Ethan Harvey, which I know they're still en route home. I don't think they're home yet. 30 hours, and they came from London, England. So did Brian Richards.
Yeah.
There was a couple of English guys there, and Evel was huge in England because it's the kid went over there and did a jump and busted his ass and got up and walked it off with a broken pelvis, and apparently that impressed a lot of people over there because he has a lot of fans. So that was pretty. And
you got people like those guys who really help keep Evel's spirit alive.
Absolutely. I mean, especially Brian and Darren, they have contributed pieces to this museum. They stay really, they're part of the inner circle for sure. And they're not doing this for any kind of profit. It's just sheer love. That's the thing with all of these people. It's just the pure love of wanting to see this happen, and as really a collaboration of a lot of great people. And we'll get into the museum in a minute, but I'm completely impressed how many people are willing to do, in a lot of ways, almost impossible things to get this thing done.
Yeah, and you just said something which actually I came across too, real quick when I was looking for. We were talking last night about trying to find the actual lineup of the weekend, and I was doing a search last night trying to find what I could. And one of the things I found, it mentioned that the museum is actually non-profit, and I was kind of taken back by that.
Well, it's a non-profit, but that affords. I don't know how they manage to accomplish that. I don't know what. I believe that's probably a lot of red tape. I don't know the inner workings of that, but my guess is. Now I'll tell you something. I just got interrupted by something, but it's pretty. It's pretty impressive. 4th of July. I've never seen one in Ohio. Bald eagle just flew by me. How cool is that?
Oh wow!
A big one
Very
too.
Nice.
Anyway, it's a nonprofit organization, and I think the reason they did that was to guarantee that this museum will be around. It won't be a flash in the pan. This nonprofit status offers a lot of protections. It can, and as Lathan told me, it can never shrink. It can only grow. So
gotcha. Okay.
They have their eyes. This is a legacy thing for them, I believe, and they have their eyes towards it staying there for many, many years, and that makes me happy.
Now, do you know why they we might even have talked to Lathan about this. I can't remember, but do you know why they chose Kansas as the location, not like instead of maybe Butte, Evil's hometown, or even Vegas, where Evil really truly made his name?
Well, it's actually very clever. There's a couple things. You say Evil made his name. Evil was red hot in Kansas in his heyday. And if you look, most of his crew guys came from Kansas. I believe Draper's from Wichita, Lee, Ratliff, I believe he's from Kansas, and a couple other guys. They're all from that area. And, and Draper was telling me the other day that, back in the day, they booked Evil for Kansas State Fair, I believe, and they didn't know what an Evel Knievel was really. It was like 72. So, they heard about him, and, you know how fairs are. They're usually run by committee, and that committee is usually pretty old. So they really wasn't in tune with what an Evel Knievel was. And it's my understanding that Evil negotiated the deal. You're going to pay me X amount of money, plus you're going to give me a percentage of the gate. And very naive of the board to say yes, because according to Draper, they went beyond having, it was more than standing room only. They were lined up all around the track. Nobody packed that place like Evil did. And they really gave away a lot of money to Evil, and he was very happy about it. And that started a love affair with Kansas and Evil. And that's how a lot of those crew guys got involved. And then the other thing is, I believe Lathan said that Kansas is right directly in the middle of the United States. So it's, around 12 hours from everywhere. So It's centrally located, and people can come and check it out, and it's not really that overwhelming to drive. I mean, I came from Van Wert. Everybody knows I live in Van Wert. If you don't know where that's at, it's right across the border from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I basically drove up the road for about 50 miles on 127, turned right, hit I-70, and stayed on that for 700 miles.
Wow.
Took me right to Topeka. So, I mean, it was a good drive. We got to Topeka, and I got to say that's the state capital, I believe. Everybody there was, for being a state capital, I know it's not the biggest state capital in the United States, but, it's a larger city. Man, they act like it's just a small hometown. Everybody walking on the street, very, very nice, very, very pleasant.
Nice.
Open the door for you. And, there's kind of a little bit of Mayberry going on there, and that's a good thing. We need more of that. So that was
the town.
very
then
pleasant.
You're saying the town of Topeka was pretty open and excited to have this whole thing happening. Then,
my understanding before I even went there, that the community really was really receptive to this idea, because it brings some tourism, and you can tell the town shows its age a little bit, but it's very clean. It just looks like a shot out of Andy Griffith. Wow. It's kind of sleepy. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to do there, it looks like, but the only thing I was interested in was Evel Knievel, so I didn't get out much. I was busy with all that, but the town is, and its people, all very nice. I mean, if you're going to put a museum somewhere, I think that's probably a place to do it.
Nice. Very, very cool. So now, everything was on Friday. It kicked off on Friday evening, correct?
Correct. About 5:30 p.m. I brought my mom. Both myself and my mother had a mission, Robbie had seen my mom. Let's see how to start this story. All through my life, obviously, been involved with Evel Knievel, so by osmosis, so is my mom and my dad. I really drove them nuts with that. So my mom was very interested in meeting Robbie. And, of course, the TV show that I did, Heirs to the Dare, had a segment that turned out to be the favorite of the show was me and my mom arguing about who's better, Evel Knievel or Elvis. My mom's a big Elvis fan. And it pretty much endeared everybody to my mother. And anybody that's ever seen the show, that's the first thing they ask, how's your mom doing? So, they're getting up in enough age where they don't really want to travel a whole lot. But she decided she wanted to go there because she wanted to meet Robbie Knievel. And so this went on for a couple weeks. Do you think I'll get to meet him? I said, yeah, you'll get to meet him. Really? I said, I guarantee the first thing he's going to say is, you're right, Elvis is better. Because he said that to me several times, laughing about our argument on TV. Robbie seen the show and loved it. And oddly enough, when I was younger, Robbie and I looked like we could have been brothers. I mean, maybe twin brothers. We were very close to, that people have confused me with Robbie several times.
I'll tell you what, you put a bunch of pictures up the other day when you were younger, like high school pictures and stuff like that, and I said the exact thing to myself, like, you would have thought that was Robbie Knievel.
Yeah, we looked a lot alike. And I think it's in Australia, there's a picture of Evel and Robbie standing there, both in their jumpsuits, and it looks exactly like me. And everybody that knows me seen that, wow, that's amazing resemblance. So, and then the funny thing about that is Robbie's mom, Linda, and my mom look amazingly similar. So there's a couple doppelgangers going on there. And then Robbie's crew chief, Bill Rundle, who was at the museum opening, he resembles my crew chief, Russ Bell. They're about a goatee away from looking just alike. So, I mean, there's some funny similarities, like a different universe competing with each other. But, yeah, that's pretty neat. So, we drive, and I hear my mom, I hope I get to meet him, We get there and pull into the Capitol Plaza Hotel and get out of the car to check in, walk directly in there. Robbie Knievel standing right there. So I said, hey, Mom, meet Robbie Knievel. And just, my mom lit up, and, she told him, she said, I have known so much about you. You're practically family. And it's awesome to see you. And he was very gracious with her. Gave her a hug and looked at her and said, Elvis is better. Everybody's cracking up. And so the first 5 minutes we got there, her mission was accomplished. And then
was she ready to go home after that?
Yeah, also in the lobby was Gene Sullivan, the preacher, jumper, / former bodyguard of Evel Knievel. He was there. Doug Danger, Louis Reed, the English fellows I talked about, Darren and Brian. Who else? George Sedlak, Evel's painter. I mean, if you're talking Evel Knievel, you walked right in the lobby of pretty much a murderer's row of Evel Knievel fans and jumpers and, associates. And Draper was there. I mean, it was stacked. I mean, I could have turned around after 10 minutes, went home, and seen everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty fun. So I had time to. They had a couple hours. I think everything started about 5:30. Me and Mike made our way over there, and they had everything laid out. Tents is it's Kansas, so it was really warm out, but had it laid out beautifully. I mean, that's one thing about this museum is it is absolutely everything about it is absolutely first class. They don't, and that's, my parents walked around there and said, "Man, this thing is classy, very classy." Now I have kind of an artist's eye, and with everything that I've been involved with, some of my artwork, my four-wheelers, trailers, whatever, posters, I have an eye for detail, and I appreciate it when I see that from other people. And, I had an expectation of what this museum was going to be, and it's easily far greater than I ever imagined it in my mind. And I have to say, and you can probably agree with this, you form an image in your mind, and most of the time things don't live up to the hype. Well, not only did this live up to it, but it exceeded it.
Awesome. It like you were saying, like it really looks classy. It really looked like a classy, real nice tribute to Evel.
Total tribute. But here's the thing: a lot of bikers out there, they get a bad rap. The whole biker thing, and what I was surprised with is especially like the last 10 years. There's a lot of bikers out there, and they wear their leathers and all that, and have beards. Just to look at them and think, oh, that person's, he looks like he's kind of a rough character. And you find out that these guys are businessmen, they're bankers. A lot of times they're dentists. They're, a couple cases, doctors, lawyers. They just like the biker lifestyle. They just have a love of motorcycles. And pretty much if you have a love of motorcycles, you inherently have a love of all things Knievel. And these guys are, they're late baby boomers or early generation Xers. And, Evel's what really was the sounding board for all the Generation X people. So there's a nostalgia factor that everybody, given the opportunity, would love to vividly relive their childhood, I think, don't you?
Totally. I mean, when we do all these things where we get to talk about Evel and these shows, and it instantly brings back myself to being a child again and having the toys and seeing Evel on Worldwide Sports, and it just brings me back to like a fun time in life.
I couldn't agree more. Here's the thing, and that, I know there's a lot of people that might think this is, I don't know, narcissism or ego-driven that, you and I have talked and do these Evel Knievel specials, but this is my thing. We have access. I have access to these people, the crew members and family, and it's not that I really think, I need to indoctrinate myself into the Knievel myth and all that. Although, I mean, I pretty much have. Let's not bullshit each other. I'm known for jumping a four-wheeler. I have a certain amount of fame, credibility, whatever. I've put myself out there for that. But there's that side. There's the Daredevil side. I'm a Daredevil. But there's also the side that I got into this when I was 4 years old. And I have never forgotten what that felt like. to be a kid watching this guy that to me, he was cooler than Superman because he was real. And, of course, later on after he retired, Robbie filled those shoes. And, there's a lot gets made that, Robbie can never fill his dad's shoes. He doesn't have to fill his shadow, walk in his shoes. He doesn't have to do that. He is Robbie Knievel, all on his own. He's a legend in his own right, and I'm thankful that I've got to become friendly with both of them. And, you and I have become friendly, doing these shows. We've met, and I just think this is an awesome way to record some of the things I've gone through. And, if you can't make it, then you can live vicariously through me. And certainly enjoy doing that for everybody. And I get a lot of email, a lot of comments about how much fun this is, people listening to this. So I enjoy doing it, and I hope we do a lot more of them.
Oh, we will. Because, you being the Daredevil and, you, like myself, growing up and with the love of Evel Knievel, you truly got to experience so much of this stuff. And if it wasn't for you bringing me along for the ride, I never would have been able to do a 10th of these Evel Knievel things we've pulled it together, and, talking with his crew and hearing these stories, and even getting Robbie on the air the last go round. And it's been a hell of a friggin' ride. And I look forward to doing these shows, when we do them. So.
Well, one thing, side note to that, most of these guys, including Robbie, have agreed to do more. And some people we haven't spoke with yet. They've all agreed to do more. They think they're fun. They see what I'm doing. I think at first they might have been a little apprehensive. Some people get on here and they're kind of kooky, and they want to clown Evel and maybe his son. And I have nothing but an enormous amount of respect for all these people involved, and I will. Darren Harvey, one of the fellows from the UK, he walked up to me and he stuck his hand out. He said, "There's one thing I really like about you." He said, "There's no bullshit in you." He said, "Everything is either white or black, and you call it like you see it." He said, "I enjoy that." And, that's true. I got that from my parents, and if I don't like you, I'll tell you. If I do, you absolutely know it. And, I don't put a slant on things. I call it like I see it. And, I can give a little bit of insight that probably a lot of people won't be able to have, because I'm also a Daredevil. I'm a fan, but I'm also a Daredevil. So I've been there. I've done that. I know what that feels like, and I can describe it to everybody. So, I hope everybody out there listening enjoys this.
Now, you had mentioned a rundown of a lot of the people that were there, and I'm going to say one of the people that I was really excited to see there, that really kind of bummed me out again that I wasn't there, was seeing John Hood there.
Absolutely. This young guy bounces around like a teenager, and I'm not kidding. He's 87 years old, and there's kind of an interesting story to this. I think we dipped him in the fountain of youth, because it's my understanding, I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard a little bit of the scuttle. Lathan really had to twist John's arm to get him to come. He lives in California, I believe, and
right.
Being 87 years old, that's
sure.
And I don't think he was really into it. And he's like, oh, I don't know, Lathan. And just finally, he made his mind up that yes, he was going to go one time, and boy, he showed up, and he was pretty much the center of a lot of things going around. Now this guy is, man, I tell you what, if I live to be 87 and could get around like him and be as sharp as him, you know, he's sitting there at 87 years old working a smartphone like any teenager. He really was, and he's smart guy, friendly as can be, and you know, very welcoming, and all the attention that was shown on him and the rest of the crew, I think it moved him, because now he has decided that he's going to go back every year until he can't.
Nice.
Yes, that's and you know, he's wow, the stories that come out of this guy. Him, I sat at a breakfast table a couple of days and listen. You know, I sit there with the crew and Robbie one day, and just sit there and gather evil stories that we'll get into at some point, I'm sure. But you know, I was privileged to hear a lot of stuff that nobody gets to hear, and so they opened the museum. We go there. They have a kind of banquet style deal, hors d'oeuvres. And the thing I liked most was free beer. It was hot and I was thirsty.
And that was what, Friday night? They did, like, it looked like it was under a tent, I guess, like in the parking lot?
Yeah, it was Friday night, 5:30 to 8:30, I believe. And while we were sitting there, you know, there was people, they had news crew there, and, you know, they had all these tables for all the VIPs, and we were under a tent, and, you know, a lot of these, like the crew members got introduced, and Robbie got introduced, and Robbie's sister and Evel's wife, Crystal, and Rundle, and, you know, all these people connected got introduced, and they were all given a little time. Louis Ree, he's a jumper. He's an announcer, and definitely ham. He had a mic and was questioning all these people, and they threw out a couple short stories, and it was all very interesting. It was a lot of fun, and I think for a couple of these, John Hood, very emotional for him. Now, you're bringing up a lot of, you know, at 87 years old, go back 40, 50 years, you know, he's reliving a lot of stuff that was laid dormant for decades, and
right.
Especially, you know, he was one of the truck drivers, and he seen Big Red at a premiere a while ago, last summer, I believe. But every time he got around that truck, he would just look at it, and he got a little glassy-eyed. And it was great to see. You know, I don't know. I've said this before. You know, my first car was a Mach 1 Mustang, and I've joked about that. Every time I see one or see a picture of that, it's a time machine. That's exactly what that semi is for them. They're traveling back in time in their minds, but they can physically lay hands on this vehicle. And, man, I'm telling you, that truck looks like a brand new penny. And it is exact. And that, you know, people need to go online and check out, you know, just look up Evel Knievel's semi. or Evel Knievel's Big Red or something like that, and look at the process they had to go through to restore this thing. And it wasn't, a couple people that they had intentions of. I think the first guy that bought it, Jeff, he actually told me that he had a company trying to talk him into selling that to him. They were going to chop it up and sell pieces of it on eBay.
Whoa.
Which made me sick. And I went online, man. That's how me and Draper got talking with each other, because he asked me if I knew where it was, and I said yeah. And I was just really raising hell. I did not want it chopped up, and I didn't want the El Cheapo Earl Scheib paint job on it. And another thing they were tossing around was they were going to do half of the truck the original way, red and white, and then they was going to do the other half like Robbie had it. And I said, absolutely not. What do you think of that, Henry? Absolutely not. Don't do that. Don't do that. This thing is,
right.
Listen, you're going to do a Adam West Batman outfit, half of it the way it's supposed to be, and the other half pink? What the fuck are we dealing with here? No, don't do that. Usually in a lot of these cases, and some of these bikes that are in this museum, they are untouched. And you can see the age, you can see the battle damage, you can see and people that don't know would think, oh, wow, this is all chipped up and it looks old. Let's restore it and make it look brand new. No, you don't do that if you can help it. You leave the patina on it. You leave the battle damage. That's where the value's at. And some of these bikes are, $200,000 to $350,000 a piece.
Right.
And if you restored it, you would take it back to a $28,000 Harley XR 750.
Right.
So there you go. I mean, you just kill the value. Now with Big Red, to do it right, to give you the proper experience, there was no saving any patina. I mean, they kind of did. They got like the original doors and some of the sheet metal and that on the wall, so you can see how bad it really was. But this thing is stunning. Stunning. It looked like a brand new truck. And I mean, Lathan had to spend a lot on it. And, he did it right. And he's the only person I know that have that much love. I mean, obviously, I said before, if I won the lottery, that'd been exactly what I'd done. And, I said that to him, and he kind of got pissed off at me. And he said, you just don't understand what I went through to get this done. And I said, no, dude, I'm not trying to diminish anything you've done. I'm just saying, if I had the resources, I would have done it like this. But you actually did it. So it's easy to sit there and say, oh, I would do this and that. But he actually did it. And the group of people, the historic Topeka Harley Davidson, the guy that runs that, Mike, all the people that worked there, all of those, they took that on because they restore Harley Davidsons. They never restored a semi before. And that got mentioned to them, and they all looked at each other and said, can we restore a semi? Yeah, we probably could. Buddy, if they go out of business working on Harleys, they could definitely go into a semi-building business because that thing looks like brand new.
Tell you what, myself, I'll go out and speak for all of us, like outside Evel Knievel fans, and truly, you can never thank a person like Lathan enough for really bringing all these things back to life and truly bringing Evel back to life and making his memory live on with things like that he's done. It's just truly amazing.
I agree. Evel, later in his career, he kind of, I don't know, he kind of went off the rails a little bit, and that's kind of unfortunate. I mean, he was his nickname was Evel. he's a bit of a hellraiser, and you know he's that ornery kid up until the day he died. He was that ornery kid. He kind of got where he believed his own image a little too much, I think. And then later on in life, he come full circle, and he kind of got that, you know, he's just Bobby Knievel, and Evil was a character he created. And I've said this before, you know, there's a lot of people out there that say when he created Evel Knievel drug him straight down the path to hell. Now, I disagree. I think Bobby Knievel was always this kid from Butte, Montana, that was ornery. He's always plotting. He was always working things. You know, he robbed stores. I mean, this is the stuff of legend. I'm not making any of this up. He was always working an angle, and he had to. He had to hustle to get anything he wanted. He's a poor kid from Butte, Montana. He got the idea to jump a motorcycle, and he spun this and gave himself maybe the best name in show business ever, which is Evel Knievel. Just kind of flies off the tongue. And he created this image gradually. You know, you see his first jumps, he's in the yellow and black, and then shortly after, you know, the red, white, and blue comes into, because he did not want to present himself as the typical biker bad guy in the black leathers. He wanted to be the guy rolling around in the white hat. On the, you know, Gene Autry and Roy Rogers were his idols, and they were the guys in the white hat on the horses. And if you Caesar's Palace, he had a blue helmet on, and apparently he got superstitious about it because after that he only wore white helmets, and he always wanted to be perceived as a guy in a white hat. That was Evel Knievel. Now, when the lights went off, Bobby Knievel came back, and the partying and the woman chasing and all that. I got to say, as a kid, I never cared about any of that. I mean, I heard, you know, that stuff went on with him. I didn't care. You know, that as his personal business. Who am I to judge somebody? I've done that myself, and I would hate somebody to crawl up my ass with a microscope and dissect every little thing I did. But, you know, as the Evel Knievel, he always preached the good message. You know, love your family, do the right thing, keep your word, say your prayers, that whole deal. Keep your word. You fall down, get back up. And I listened to that. And not only did I listen to it, it formed who I became. And that whole Pitbull thing, the whole Pitbull nickname, it came about because there's just no quitting me. Whether it's competition or actual, you know, somebody messing with me, I don't care how big you are. You'll feel like you got in a tussle with a pit bull when I'm done. But that's because I believed all of the stuff this guy preached for years. It imprinted on me. So I always joked around that I perhaps, and you know, I'm not the only one. There's a generation of guys out there that went and risked their life. You know, Pastrana, Doug Danger, Robbie. You know, there's dozens of us, but we all believe this, and we're all more probably Evel Knievel than Evel Knievel was, just because he preached that and we had open ears. And you know, he's probably third in line. My parents are the biggest influences on me. They're my biggest heroes. But he's definitely third. And when I met him and talked to him, I told him exactly that. And he was visibly moved by that. I said, I know you really don't know who I am, but I know you. And you've been a member of my family for years. And we, you know, after I met him, we remained friends. Kelly Knievel sent me an email saying he's going through his dad's stuff. And out of the decades of stuntmen giving him kits and pictures and letters and notes and all that. I was the only one that he kept anything from. How cool is that?
That's super cool. That's an honor.
I was very honored, very touched. So, I mean, the waters of all this history run pretty deep. And it was important for me that even the casual, you like motorcycles, or you're too young, you don't know what Evel Knievel was. It was important for me that a museum done in his honor be done correctly. And I got to tell you, man, this thing will blow your mind. First class the whole way through.
You mentioned Kelly. He did not attend, correct?
Kelly did not attend, and Alicia, the youngest of Evel's daughters, did not attend. I never heard why. Maybe they just wrapped up in other stuff. I don't know. Robbie and Tracy were there for the whole 2 days. Got to meet Tracy. She's a sweetheart. Very classy lady. And the other thing, and I spent 2.5 days with Robbie Knievel almost nonstop. We sit and talked, and Robbie is a very, very good guy. He's a sweet man. I think he's often misunderstood. He has, as we've talked about in the Robbie Knievel special, Chasing Evil, he's got some things he is working on trying to sort out between him and his dad. And he actually mentioned that he was going to do a puppet show with a puppet of his father. Well, I've seen that. And I think my first impression, I'm being very honest, and I hope it doesn't piss him off. My first impression was this is probably beneath him. But after watching it a little bit, it's apparent that this is a kind of therapy for him. He appears to be saying stuff to his dad that he couldn't say.
Right.
And his dad is answering him through this puppet. Now, I think the puppet needs to be refined a little bit and need to get a little bit better quality puppet. I think Robbie has the ability. He could go and do this. I was totally against it at first, but it actually I kind of warmed up to it a little bit. He's actually, he's got his own brand of humor, but if he refines it a little bit, he might have something there. But it is apparent that he is desperately trying to work out some stuff with him and his dad, and this is the only way he's going to get it done because his dad's gone. Can he make it successful? I have no idea, but I actually kind of warmed up to it a little. I was dead set against it, but now he just needs to practice it a little bit. And, he knows how to do that, so I wish him all the best with it.
I'll tell you what, when he first brought up the whole puppet thing to us when we did the Chasing Evil special, both you and myself talked the next day, and we both were on the exact same page with that, with our feelings. And everything you just said is exactly what we were saying and our thoughts. And as I was going through, like I was saying, of the weekend of the pictures and all, and I was looking at the pictures of Robbie. A, he looked very happy to be there. B, I was wondering, how was it for him? Do you know if he mentioned or talked about it? Was it an emotional thing for him? Because of just that, the relationship that him and his dad had. That was something that he truly was a part of all of his life, so he really got to live and witness a lot of these things. And I was just wondering if he let on to anybody, or even I saw he did a speech on Friday night, if he was emotionally moved by this whole thing.
I think the whole weekend was very emotional for him. Just in our private talks, and we talked several hours. It's very apparent that I don't know what you want to say, the shadow, the ghost, the image of his father is in every minute, every day of his life.
Right.
He rarely goes without, he rarely says a paragraph without putting his dad in there. And I think that's a double-edged sword for him. I mean, I obviously he likes being a celebrity. He likes being recognized for all this stuff. He also feels, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think he also feels like he's constantly got to compare himself, or he's constantly being compared with his father. And that's, I actually said something to him. I said, in my opinion, I think you need to just realize that you're every bit what your dad was, and maybe a little bit more. So he made a little bit more money than you. So, he might be a bigger name than you, but, Evel could not be the jumper Robbie is. Robbie is, even now, he walks around with a back brace and kind of everything about him's a little crooked. He's paid his dues. And
sure.
He even now still doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I told him, I said, dude, you are certainly worthy of having a museum all by yourself of this caliber. And he looked at me and smiled, and he said, I appreciate that. He said, I think that's a goal of mine. I want to have a museum similar to this in Las Vegas. So maybe that'll get done one day. Hopefully done soon enough he can see it and appreciate it. Because we were in the lounge in the hotel Friday night, and a couple guys come up and they asked, "Are you Robbie Knievel?" And he said, "Yeah." And they went straight to his dad. Oh, I loved Evel Knievel as a kid. Evel Knievel this, Evel Knievel that, Evel. And they didn't mention him.
Wow.
And he just, I was watching. He just, he just took it all in. But it was Evel. He was on Fox. How many Fox specials did he do? He did a bunch of them that were just as good as anything Evel ever did on My World of Sports. Most cases better. I never seen Evel Knievel jumping from one rooftop to another. This is not a bash on Evel. This is just, Robbie was that good. He jumped oncoming train. He did the 30 limo jump, which I watched live. I watched live with Evel. And, it goes back to that. I'm helping wheel him out. He had a hip replacement. We go out to the arena, and, my sister had passed a week before that. And so Evel was kind enough. He was talking to me a little bit about that right before we got out. And he said, now, here's the thing. He said, Robbie kind of shoots himself in the foot. He said, I'm going to show you why. We walked out into that arena. He was sitting in a wheelchair. But as soon as everybody seen him, the crowd went ape shit.
Sure.
they were in the presence of the gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
But then, 10 minutes later, his son comes out and does a jump that his dad could never do. And he doesn't get the buzz that Evel got. Now, Evel was probably one of the best salesmen in history. He knew how to promote. He knew how to work it. Robbie he's been on his own since he was a teenager. And
right.
he had his dad's personality, and he decided to go his own way and do his own thing. Is that good? Is that bad? I think that's for him to say. I just think in a lot of issues he could have, instead of feeling competitive with his dad, he could have sit back and learned a little bit more how to use that for his own benefit, because he's definitely worthy of a museum on his own. He's worthy of documentaries. He's worthy of movies. And if they ever make a movie about Robbie Knievel, I wish they'd hurry the hell up, because I'll absolutely play him.
That's funny. So, all right. So the museum itself, how did that work? Were you able to get in there Friday night, or was it like an all-day Saturday thing? Or
we got in about 9 o'clock. All the speakers wrapped up, and they opened the museum up and let us go in there for about an hour and a half. And we walked through, and I think if you look on my Facebook page, you have to dig around a little bit maybe. I did a Facebook Live that was an hour and 5 minutes long, and I basically I give you the 25-cent tour. We didn't show you everything, but actually got to interview and get comments from a lot of jumpers, a lot of the crew people, and the owners, Lathan and Mike, and I think Robbie Hall might have got in there. I got their comments, as you know. It was just open for it was been open for the public, kind of. I think they had like 25 people go through it before, Friday night, but this was the first, official gathering of a lot of people going through there, and I asked different people what they thought, and I intentionally got a cross section of people, little old ladies and women in their 30s and 20s, and asked them, and they were just all, not one negative thing. There was not one negative thing. And if you look at the reviews, they're all 5 stars. And it's very deserved, because I've seen a couple museums this caliber, but they were far more financed, and they had professional people come and lay this museum out. And it's my understanding that these guys did it all in house. They just studied how other museums work, and they copied that, and they put their own spin on some things. So let me see if I can give you verbally the 25-cent tour. You walk in, you walk past the ticket counter.
All right, how about Henry? How about we do this? Because let's take a quick commercial break, so I can do that, and then we'll come back, and then we'll take the 25-cent tour, because I this way we don't have to take no breaks later in the show. We can bang that out.
Yep.
Cool. All right, everybody, stay tuned. Give me 3 minutes. Let me pay the bills. We're going to come back on the flip side, and we're going to get the grand tour through the eyes of Henry Rife of the Evel Knievel Museum. Stay tuned.
Attention business owners, website owners, event promoters, or anyone looking to promote your product. The Totally Driven Entertainment Radio Network is the perfect way to spread the word of your business around the world. That's right, you can advertise at our network and be played on all of our shows at rates that are so cheap, it's a no-brainer. For more information, contact Bay Ragney at bayragney@gmail.com. To keep your business driven, stay driven with Totally Driven Entertainment.
Are you a fan of Sherlock Holmes? Letters from Holmes offers unique, one-of-a-kind letters from the world-famous detective himself. handwritten on 8.5-inch by 11-inch aged parchment paper and using smudge-free ink to produce original high-quality letters that fans will treasure for years to come. Each letter is handcrafted and written from the perspective of Sherlock Holmes, mimicking Holmes's native tongue and embracing many of the famous detective's quirks, quips, insults and peculiarities. Order a love letter, birthday greeting, personal correspondence or more only at www.etsy.com/shop/letters from Holmes.
For $5 today, you can buy a wealth of things. Gas for your car, rent a movie for the family, a few slices of pizza. $5 still takes you a long ways. But did you know that $5 can buy your child a bag of heroin in the streets? That's right. For only $5, your son or daughter can buy some of the cheapest and purest dope in the country. Be aware of the lies. Be aware of the stealing. Be aware that's all it takes to kill your child. $5. This message was brought to you by Casey's Cause, a group of parents located in southern Chester County out to save your child's life. Come join us today at www.caseyscause.com. And remember, $5 is all it takes. Casey's Cause, www.caseyscause.com.
Looking for that perfect gift for your girlfriend? Then look no further than Teddy Scares. Teddy Scares are available in a variety of styles, sizes, and prices for all your shopping needs. Teddy Scares are a mix of cute and creepy to make a great gift for almost any age. Board up your windows, lock your doors, and log on to teddyscares.com. And be sure to become our friends at facebook.com/teddyscares. Calling all comic book fans. Do you collect comics? Did you ever collect comics? Do you think your children might like reading comic books? Do you even know they still print real, paper, non-digital comic books? Well, then visit the Pirates of Ontario Street Comics in Philadelphia. We have a massive collection of comic books, action figures, trading cards, and much more. We have one of the largest stocks of back-issue comics in the area. We bag and board every new comic book at no extra charge. Our store is voted the best comic book shop in the 2013 PHL 17 Hot List contest. Part of the movie Unbreakable is filmed in our store. We are open 7 days a week. Ontario Street Comics is located at 2235 East Ontario Street in the Port Richmond section of Philly. Our phone number is 215-288-7338. Type in the words Ontario Comics Philadelphia to check out our Wacky Stores page on Facebook.
This is Guinness Book of World Record holder, motorcycle jumper Doug Danger, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
All right, welcome back. It's Totally Driven Radio. I'm here with Henry Rife, and we're doing the Evel Knievel Museum grand opening recap. And let's get into the full. Henry's going to give us his take through his eyes of the actual tour of the museum. So take it away, Henry.
Okay, we'll see how good my memory is. I'm not looking at any pictures, so I'm just visually going through this in my mind. As you walk into the main entrance, you see a statue of Evel standing there. This is a statue that, not real clear on the history of it. It was definitely at Kings Island for a while. Evel took it around on tour with him. But that's there. If you look on my Facebook page, you can see pictures of all this stuff. So the ticket counter's right there. Some very nice people working there, very knowledgeable. They'll help you with anything you need. You walk down a long hall, and you make a sharp right turn. As you make that sharp right turn, you see the beginning of Evel's career. Some pictures of when he was a little ornery-ass little kid, which by all accounts he was a very ornery kid. You keep walking straight and you will see, I believe it's a Honda 350. That's what he started out on. There's a display of it's a reenactment of a picture of Evel riding a wheelie, and that's there. It's pretty cool to see that vintage bike and that reenactment. As you walk a little further down, you start getting into the, I don't think they had a Norton. That was shown on Wild World Sports' first national televised jump. Back then he was in the yellow and black, and I believe he was jumping with a red Norton. I'm sure that'll appear at some point. But then at the end of the hall, there is a Triumph 650 Bonneville, and the leathers, and with all these things you get tons of pictures, and when available you have TV screens that let you see the actual jump, concerning the display. So they show Caesars over and over and over, and of course that was the real accident that launched him. And if he would have made that jump, he would have probably never been the iconic person he became. But since he had such a horrendous crash, that created a lot of buzz. And John Derrick and his wife got footage of that. Who knows how many times that thing's been viewed. But that's sitting there, and I believe that's not the jump bike, but I believe it's the wheelie bike. So it's a real one, I believe. I could be wrong. So then you keep on, and you see the over to your right. You see a American Eagle, which is the real deal. This thing was not taken very good care of. It was really rotted out. Again, just blown away that these Evel Knievel motorcycles in this truck, and even the Rocket, just got neglected like it was nothing. Back then they just treated it like it was no big deal.
Wow.
But Lathan tracked this bike down, and again, it's completely restored because it was such bad shape. There was no patina. It was just wasted. So now it's like a brand new bike, and it's all painted correctly. Has a set of leathers that he wore, sitting there with it. And interesting note about that bike was he jumped that thing 13 times and landed it successfully 6.
Oof.
So in like a 13 or 14 month period, he crashed that thing 7 times. And I've always said, he crashed a lot. That really was the worst bike he ever had. It was a 500-pound bike, and it was a flying turd. It looked good, but boy, that was something that was not meant to fly. So this was now Caesars was like the 66 to early 69 or late 68 period. After the Caesars period with the Triumph, went to the American Eagle for about 13, 14 months. And early, and I know there's some pictures out there. This was when George Hamilton was getting ready to do the Evel Knievel movie.
Okay.
There's actually pictures of George in the rebel flag looking Evel Knievel leathers, the X on it.
Right.
They're very rare, but I've seen a couple, and he's sitting on the American Eagle. Well, that was never shown in the movie. That was discarded, and Evel entered into the Harley-Davidson era, which became iconic association together, Harley and Evel Knievel. So the first Ironhead XR, which is pretty rare. I'll tell you a little tidbit about the George Hamilton movie. I don't know if you know this or not, but the bike they used in that movie, that was the XR Ironhead #1. That was the very first XR made.
Oh, wow.
And that wasn't Evil's bike. That was the movie bike. And it stayed on a mantle in a guy's bar for years. And a couple of years ago, that bar burnt down and that bike burnt down.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Lathan acquired it, and it's undergoing restoration. So they saved it, but that was actually XR number 1. So, I mean, it's worth a lot in its own right. But the fact that it was in that movie ups the price even more. So, trivia you might not have known. Then you, I believe you go to another display with an XR, which is the LA Coliseum, and that is sporting a tank that was Wild Child paint job. Painter went by Wild Child. He did that. It's kind of a hint of things to come. It's a blue tank, red lettering, and red stripes, and around the top of the gas tank, it's inscribed "Color Me Lucky," which was a saying Ethan Evel went by his whole career. That was a hint at what was to come with the Sedlak stuff. He had Wild Child do a couple of tanks for him, and then he moved on to George Sedlak, which let's see what we have after that. I believe after that was my personal favorite was the Evel Knievel XR750 Wembley jump bike, finally back together and complete, which was great because that was the tank and fender I found for Lathan. And he was determined enough to get a hold of it, and he got it. That's my personal favorite because I have vivid memories of that crash, and that's the first time I ever seen Evel crash in real time, and it upset me. And then my mom and dad took me to Dairy Queen and made everything better. Then we went to the Harley Davidson, another display. That was the Kings Island bike. Now, if I'm right, I think this is a replica because I think that Kings Island bike is in the Smithsonian, unless they got it. I think it's in the Smithsonian on loan. You go past that, and there's a display of mail that kids wrote, and they didn't know where Evel lived. They didn't have his address, so they just put it in the mailbox, and it said Evel Knievel, and it went to Butte, Montana, just like Santa Claus goes to the North Pole. That's a sign that you're pretty much a big deal if people just put your name on it and they know where to send it. And there's a lot of fan mail that never got read until now, and they have them on display, and I think they're going to rotate those. But it's pretty neat. You know, could you come and eat dinner with me and my mom, and you know, stuff like that. It's pretty sweet. So then I believe there's a timeline on the wall of all of Evel's jumps. These walls are covered with little interesting tidbits of information and pictures you don't see, and a lot of the haven't been seen in years. Lathan has very extensive archives, and it's my understanding they're going to rotate this stuff so none of these displays will get stale. They're going to change them around. Even talked about maybe one day having a Pitbull display there. That'd be cool. So, and you go back. I forgot this. You go back to the first turn, and what you see to the right of you is the back of Big Red. And it has curtains all around. All you see is the back doors. And I just seen that and got all giddy. So we jump up to where the timeline is, and there it is, sitting in all its glory, is the big red truck in its place of honor. It is beautiful. I'm not going to lie to you. I got all emotional about it. The little kid in me was just going ape shit. And then let's see, further down the hallway is a little film room where they show the whole Big Red documentary on what they went through to restore this thing. And then you actually come out in front of the Big Red truck, and you can walk all around it and see that it looks like brand new. It looks like it doesn't have any miles on it. And then there's all through these halls again, there's just loaded with pictures and little mini displays, and there's a media hallway that's like all the newspaper clippings. It's like wallpaper. Then there's I believe there's a makeshift ramp with a little kid on a bicycle, which is how I got my start in the Daredevil business at 4 years old. There is a set of steps, and as you walk up the steps, there's a parachute and a bike that is also sporting the Wild Child paint job. And a set of evil, there's an evil, I don't want to say dummy. I don't want to say that, but there's a mannequin with evil leather riding this bike. So you walk up the steps, and then you have, let's see, the first thing you run into, you have a full-blown mannequin dressed in the Sports Illustrated leathers. He was on the cover of the Sports Illustrated, and that was a big deal because a lot of people really hadn't heard of him until the Snake River Canyon hype, and he got on the cover of Sports Illustrated just a few weeks before he did the jump, and that Sports Illustrated cover is like a cursed thing. Athletes that get on it get hurt. Well, this was no different. He failed his jump. And then pretty much is the Holy Grail display. You have a series of canes, and of course you have the $60,000 Wembley Stadium helmet complete with crash damage, and then the crowning part of it all is the Caesar's Palace helmet, which looks like a grenade got dropped on it. There's a theater in the back that you can walk in and watch Evil's appearance on The Bionic Woman, the Evel Knievel George Hamilton movie, I think the George Eads movie, I think Evel Knievel, pretty much any feature stuff that Evel was in, you can watch in there if you're willing to sit there long enough.
Right.
In the very back of the museum is the 1977 J.C. Agajanian / Evel Knievel Indy car that they sponsored at Gary Bentonhausen drove. I think he finished 16th. And right beside that is a 74 Cadillac pickup. It kind of looks like El Camino, but it's a Cadillac. And Evel hauled his bikes around when he didn't want to take Big Red somewhere. He hauled it around with that. Then there's interactive center there. It's all digital, and you can touch a different part of Evil's body or bone he broke, and it'll show a little clip of him crashing and when he did it, and explain what all happened and how intense his injuries were. We're walking a little further down this wall. There's a display that's a bunch of posters and a bunch of, I don't know what you call them, playbills, stuff like that. Appearing tonight, Evel Knievel, stuff like that. The little cheap posters and some of the more expensive stuff. And then on the opposite wall is a big, huge display of all the merchandise Evel had in his career. Obviously, the pinball machine, the stunt cycles, lunch boxes, anything. Evel had his name on a lot of stuff, and it's all there, so you can check it out. And then there is which is pretty cool, they have actual set of a piece of Evel's original ramp that you can walk on and sit on top of a XR750 and put on a set of VR goggles and earphones, and you can do a virtual reality Doug Danger, Evel Knievel jump on an XR750. Doug did it last year in Topeka, and give you an idea what it's like to jump an XR750. My mom actually did it and loved it.
I was going to say, you did video of your mom doing it, which was awesome. Did you do it?
I didn't. People said, "Oh, you should get in there." And I did want to do it, but it was like an hour-long wait. In the museum, there was a lot of people there. I think I got a pretty good idea of what it's like to jump, so I'll let somebody else enjoy it. I'll do it at some point. Then there's pictures and little doodads on the wall, Doug Danger's helmets, some comparisons of shocks and stuff like that, give you an idea of what it's like to jump an XR. And then in the very back is a steam tank, what they use as the so-called rocket engine. It's basically a steam tank. You get it up to a certain amount of pressure and had a nozzle on the end of it, and you open it up, and you went from 0 to like 350, 400 mile an hour in like 2.5 seconds, and hopefully clear a canyon, which Eddie Braun did last year successfully, finally.
Right.
And also they have a display of, I don't know if you know this or not, but there was 3 rockets made for the Snake River jump. There was the Mawiki X1, which was a little different design. It had Evel kind of straddling it like a motorcycle. And he was like face down, kind of like a crotch rocket, and they put a canopy over him. That was the idea, but when they put a parachute on Evel's back, they couldn't close the canopy. So
Gotcha.
That pretty much doomed the X1. They fired that thing off intentionally half full to scare everybody to think he's not going to make it. And that thing went right into the bottom of the canyon and destroyed it. Apparently, it still exists somewhere. I know Lathan's looking for it. And then you had the 2 X2 sky cycles, the A and the B. The X2A is the one that was on display there. There was a fellow that acquired this thing, and there's, a whole story about that. We can get into it some other time. Remind me and we'll talk about it. But this sky cycle set for years in Canada at a little tchotchke museum that had some Evel Knievel artifacts in there. Not the one Evel rode in. And the guy in Canada swore it was. And it doesn't take you very long to figure out it is because it's not painted exactly right. It's close, but it's not exactly right.
Right.
But it is the real X2A version. then the X2B version, I believe Kelly still has. And I hope this isn't true, but I heard, because when Evel hit, he damaged the front end. I heard that Kelly's restoring that rocket. And we talked about this with other things.
Yeah.
You don't want to restore that. You're killing the value of it.
Sure.
I mean, it's his property. He can do with it what he wants, but I think you would want to leave the battle damage on there. So I believe he has the actual rocket Evel jumped in. There's the cool thing about it is it's sitting on an actual part of the original. It was like some scaffolding type deal that the rocket rode up and launched off of. There's that original piece of that there, sitting on top of a bunch of dirt from the launch area. So it's on the actual ground that it launched on. And that pretty much takes you through the whole museum. I mean, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but, I mean, you could literally spend 10, 12 hours, 2 days, 3 days in there. It was very interesting. I mean, first class the whole way. All the exhibits are really something to behold. Definitely worth the $20 to get in and check it out. I will say this in closing, talking about the actual museum part. If you're going to go, you need to go see this. It's something special. Those guys outdid themselves, and hopefully next year they're going to do a little bit bigger version of the festival. And I think if I have my way, we're going to be jumping there. And it's my understanding that they're into the idea of not only me, but several of the other old school jumpers going there and performing. So let's hope that stays one of the ideas they have for next year.
Well, actually, we got a couple callers on the line, and I think I know who one of them is. And I thought the second one was somebody else, but let's get the first one on here, and I think I'm going to take a guess. Is this Mike Draper?
Yes, it is.
Hey! What's going on, Mike?
Yeah, one of them brain fogs, and you forget about it's Eastern Daylight Time to click on instead of my time, Midwest. So sorry I'm late. Yeah.
That's quite all right. You know what? I got somebody else on here too. Let's see who this is. Have them join the party too.
Okay.
Who's this? They're out there in Vegas.
This is Chemo.
Chemo, hey, how you doing, buddy?
How you doing, Henry? How you doing, Mike?
I'm good.
Good.
Good time.
Cool. So both of you guys were out there this past weekend, and I would love to hear from both of you. But let me go to Mike first. Mike, what did you think? I don't know if you heard referring to Robbie, seeing Robbie go through this, and it was kind of like reliving parts of life. It had to be a little emotional at times for you too, to see all this stuff now back in front of your face.
Well, back in front of you, like I said, back in front of your face, that things that you've kind of forgotten about, and you thought, wow, they captured that, and it's neat to see all the things that you just took for granted that day, that you were putting stuff together and doing things and going on, and then all of a sudden this comes back, and it's actually etched in stone now, and get all the memories back, and then all of the people that you didn't even know that was possibly there at the time. When Mike Patterson with Historic Harley Davidson told me about being in the stands at Hutchinson State Fair, he was 6 years old.
Wow.
So it just come back, a lot of people, and saying, when they come back and say that they had something, I was there and doing this. It's not kind of like Woodstock, so were you there? Oh yeah, I was about third row back, and they'd never know that you were there, but they would, people would tell us that they were there at different ones and what happened, and put it all together, and like I say, and actually have video or photographic evidence and stuff of things that happened. But yeah, it was pretty emotional at times, and also meeting all of Evil's family again, Tracy and Robbie, and got to meet Henry out there, and then Lee, all the truck drivers and stuff. John Hood was great. I mean, we hit it right off, and John's got lots of memories because he was the only one that actually got to go to Wembley, and all that responsibility fell on his shoulders. So he had lots to talk about.
It was kind of like a big family reunion, almost, for you guys.
Yes, it was. It was lots of people that we could relate to, and like I say, had different stories and memories of things that come along. So it hit home on a lot of things. And Henry was right. You could spend lots of time in this, going through and looking at the videos and reading the mail that has come from fans. They have a big box there that has different letters. I mean, they don't have all of them, but they have a lot of them that's posted that, the experience that they had and stuff. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that went through there, had some little emotional times too, that could go back and remember what happened. And it's just something that's probably never going to happen again. I mean, that many people all together at the same time, and
right.
People coming from Hawaii and the UK and stuff. That was quite a trip for them. So there's just something. If they come away from the experience with that, it had to be something pretty great.
It looked like an amazing time. I'm so I'm so upset I wasn't there. Now, Chemo. Now you're new.
Yes,
you're new to me, at least, with the whole Evel Knievel world. Big fan, or what's your connection?
No, a big huge fan all the way from Hawaii, and now I live in Vegas. And attending the grand opening was astounding. Everything everyone is saying is 1,000% true. And I met Mike Draper 2 years ago over at Evil Days in Butte, and got to hang out with Mike and Henry, at the hotel. And I tell you, both of them very, very true gentlemen. And I dummied up just because I wanted to hear these stories, And it was great stories. I was sitting across Mike when we were having dinner the following night, and hearing the stories about the plane, and how Evil wanted the E&K to be seen, on the plane, and how he wanted it redone. Things like that. And Henry, I tell you, his stories of what he, from David Letterman and other jump times, and I was sitting there listening in awe. And Henry's a top-notch guy too. Did he tell you the story? He gave his helmet to this boy Ethan from the UK who was there with his dad. Henry's a top-notch guy too, man. So
I wanted to ask Henry about that. I had seen the picture of the boy sitting there with the helmet, and I was blown away by that. How did that happen?
Yeah. What class act? How'd that happen, Henry?
Well, I've known his father, Darren, for a few years, talking on Facebook, and never got to meet him. And he told me that both he and his son were going to make it to the event, and his son is named Ethan, and I have my own Ethan, and I've spoken with his boy a few times, and I just, man, I love kids. I love the fans, but those kids are I've never forgot what it's like to be one when Evil was around, and I just thought I'm going to do something special for him. So I asked his dad if it would be too much for them to lug back to London, which, by the way, I just got a text message from Ethan. Said they just now got home. 30-hour trip.
Wow.
That's pretty brutal. But his dad said, no, you don't have to do that. I said, well, if it's too much for you to take home. He said, no, it's not that. It's just too much of a gift. I said, no, it's not. I said, if you're okay with it, I'll bring it. And he said, oh, absolutely. He said, I won't tell him. So we showed up Friday night after all this stuff was done. We were in the lounge talking and having a couple beers and whatnot. And Ethan's standing there talking to me, and I walked out real quick and got some posters. Because all of these guys, you don't know who you're going to see and have personal contact with again. So it wasn't, and I sure hope nobody took it as, cockiness or hubris or anything, that I pulled these posters out and autographed them and gave them to all these people. But I want to make sure they had something. And I brought this helmet, and Ethan's looking at me, and he said, what's that? I said, I thought I'd show you one of my helmets. Oh, okay. And he's got the best accent. Okay, Henry, let me see it. And so I took the helmet bag off, and I whipped out a Sharpie, and I started writing on it. He said, what are you doing there? I said, well, I'm autographing it. I said, this is yours. And he was touched, so much that he walked over and hugged me. And, that's what that's about, His dad said, and I bet they thanked me 100 times for giving it to him, which, I just told him, I have 100 of these things sitting in my garage, and, they've served their purpose with me, so why not give them to people and let them, treasure it for years in their home and have a conversation piece. And I said last night that long after I'm gone, there's going to be a piece of me sitting in England that this little boy that'll grow into a man will talk about for years.
Yeah.
And that's what that's all about. So I'm glad he liked it so much.
See, class act.
Yeah.
Totally.
Chemo is a class act too. He's an actor and a stuntman in his own right. And I've seen we're new friends. I seen that he took Darren and Ethan around Las Vegas, showed them around Las Vegas, and I thought, that's a pretty classy move, and seems like a real nice guy. So I asked him to add me on Facebook, and we met there. And that is a super nice guy. And, I hope to do more events, and maybe we'll do some film work together.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a jump going in Hawaii. You, Doug Danger, and that'd be cool to get something going.
I'm in.
Now, how about Chemo? What was your favorite part of the whole museum?
Favorite part of the museum, gosh, there's so much to name. There's, I went through that thing so many times, and taking in everything, and you just couldn't all take it in. And seeing that a friend of ours, Bob Cook, a lot of the things were once in his possession that were there in the museum, and the cool thing about the X2 that that Evil didn't get in, but it's on the ramp, is that the dirt there is actually from the site. And behind the dirt, you see some old tin cans. Well, when Lathan and I think Brian was there too, when they were getting artifacts to put in the museum, and they found these tin cans, they kind of opened them up because they're very, very badly weathered and rusted. I said they're old Olympia cans, and so they're probably there from that time of that original jump. And so that's there too. So it's kind of neat, little trinkets, from times ago. So just little intricacies of things that were there was very cool.
Awesome.
And
that is so awesome.
I'd say that if anybody can get a chance to go there and you're a fan of Evil or you've heard of Evil, you got to check out what this incredible man has done and put himself through, and how he's fathered the way for all of us who get on ATVs or get on bikes or get in cars to jump it, and to feel the wind in your hair. I've jumped off buildings and that kind of stuff, but it's all the spirit of evil,
That's awesome. Now, how about you, Mike? What part was your favorite part of the museum?
Going to the bar after everything was all over.
We did a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was just the whole thing. I mean, they put on a class act there when this grand opening. I mean, we had a extremely large tent there that was packed. Had lots of people there that had, and to see the different people and actually. Lathan and Mike Patterson and Marilyn Stemp, Robbie Hull. I mean, it just went on and on, that all the people up there, how this came together and how one of a man that I'd never had met at the time, I guess he's an attorney that is a great part of this to help to fund it to go along. And that's another big reason why, everybody says, well, why did this museum go to Topeka? I mean, with the Joey Chitwood connection and stuff. And it just gets down to the bottom line is because we had people like Lathan and Mike Patterson, and I cannot think of his name, the attorney that is one of the investors in it that stepped up and said, and the banker and the people and everybody that was actually there in Topeka stepped right up to it. And I remember when Evel's been trying to do this for years, that nobody, it's kind of neat. Yeah, we I've got a little office space over there. I guess we could, dedicate to a little bit of stuff and everything, but it just never materialized. And like the one in Vegas, I mean, it was started out and kind of fizzled away because people just didn't step up to the deal and see the vision and what was going on. And same way with the people that originally tried to restore the truck. They just didn't have the passion. They didn't want to do it. They were not trying to look beyond their pocketbook of like, we could probably, do a little Earlshire paint job and paint the windows and, get it looking pretty good and stuff. But these guys did it first class, full off-frame registration on the truck. And, I mean, the whole thing in the museum and everything was done just really nice. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that's going to come around, either people that's trying to put museums together or people that already have museums together to come to Topeka and see how, a Harley-Davidson dealership with all their employees did it, can see how it's done and how it's done right. I mean, there was, I didn't see one so far. I have not seen anything on Facebook where anybody said that, no, that's terrible, you should have never been there, and, it was a farce. I haven't seen any of that yet. Said that it was great, and would come again. So
no, it seems like you truly could go there and spend a day there, really to soak it in. It's not something that you walk through and 10 minutes later you're done.
Well, and they've got it worked out where you can put an armband on. You don't have to stay all there at one time. Leave, and say accidentally, not be able to come back and stuff. They put an armband on to you that, you could go out and see some other stuff in Topeka. Go out to dinner and then come back. And look at even more. So
nice.
That works pretty well with that because it's pretty overwhelming and stuff. You think at the front, well, I better move along. There's a lot more. Lots of people stay at the front of it when they first come in to look at all the pictures and read all the letters and all the stuff that's describing. And they have these little video monitors that have different jumps and interviews and stuff that you can see. It's just a lot to see,
Right.
So I think it's going to be, and every time that somebody goes through there, they have more stuff to come. Like the time we were out at Evil Days, there's a man that came up and started talking about he was at the jump out there, and lots of people were at the jump out there, and then he finally came up, and he was the original iron worker that helped get the iron and put up the original ramp for Evil to shoot off to out there at Snake River Canyon and stuff, and they're got a little more interesting and stuff. And he says, in fact, I've got the plants at home. And wow. Lathan was just, "Oh, you okay?" And when he come back in, and Scott Truax even found about that, he said, "You can't believe how much that saved on having to do a redesign and everything, that they had the original plans of how that was built."
Right.
People were bringing jackets up that the Olympia Electrocycle Service Center's jackets, just things that they had collected over the years. They said, "Well, I got that at home. You want to look at it?" And, well, yeah, I guess we could look at that. And, old T-shirts are starting, original shirts are starting to surface from the Snake River Canyon. So I'm sure that there's going to be even more stuff that's going to come through after people go through here and the word of mouth goes through. And I was blown away by the memorabilia as far as the toys and the bikes and some other stuff that I had never seen before that was shown there. It's just amazing. The bedroom set that they used to sell through Sears, the curtains, the bedspread, the pillowcase, the wastebasket, the lunch boxes, the walkie-talkies. I never even knew about that. And there's a Sky Cycle that's set on kind of a little ramp that's actually a electric toothbrush.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, it's just it's just like everybody else. When originally, Mickey Mouse got pretty popular in memorabilia and stuff, and they said about the Mickey Mouse wristwatch originals, and they started telling about how much they were worth and stuff. I guarantee you there was mothers going to the attic and digging through there and said, "I know I bought one of them for my kids." And to see that stuff, and I'm sure people are going to go back and look and going to come out of the woodwork. "Oh yeah, I've got something like that. Is that worth anything?" But it's a lot of neat people that's donated stuff to the museum, just to show it off because they don't want to keep it in some attic somewhere.
Right.
And I'm hoping that's true. Some people come out and know where stuff's at. And,
how about for yourself?
That was important. I'll find out.
I was going to say, how about yourself with Big Red? I mean, I know this isn't your first time seeing it restored, but it's got to be like a time warp for you to walk through that thing again.
Well, it's quite a deal. Even when I walked through there with Robbie and Tracy, especially Tracy, and then she went way back. In fact, I got pretty emotional about doing this because her dad drove that truck quite a little bit by himself when they first started out,
right?
And took the family around, and had places to hire people to put his stuff together and his ramps. And then you can remember lots of times, she slept. There's behind the seats there before you go into the coach that's cut out through there that you go from the cab to the coach. But she used to sleep up there all the time, and she was telling me, she said, "Yeah, my dad made me feel like that was especially built for me to lay right up there so I could be in front." And
oh wow!
And to see all of her family that's grown up. I mean, she was just a little girl when I met all of the family and stuff, and it's just pretty emotional about seeing her family, how it's grown, and meeting her husband and her two boys, and they must be raising them right because all of Tracy's boys and family are just truly respectful of everybody that they met. They weren't uppity or anything else, like, who I am or whatever it is. I mean, they just, like Henry was talking about, Darren Harvey's son was, it just blows me away how respectful that kid is. I mean, he just, he appreciated everything that somebody said, did, stood back, and wasn't one of those, some of the celebrities talk about irritating fans, to bust in and talk over you, and just, you could tell he was excited, but he, real respectful, all that stuff goes on. One of the other, Scott Wiley, this kind of historian with the museum and stuff, his son was, just, yes, sir, no, sir, and it just seems kind of like, I said, I'm I'm not your officer in the Army and stuff. You don't have to call me yes sir, no sir. And he says, okay, sir. And I'm like, wow, here he goes again. But yeah, all of the people we met there, I mean, just real respectful of what was going on there. And to sit at the table with everybody, like our first guy up there, Ray Gunn, it just, you know, all the stories he could tell. I mean, he was there, and they got a picture of him dressed up as a veterinarian up there when they did the snakes, jumping over the snakes. They've got his picture up there, and young Evel, you know, doing his stunt there, and all the things that he could tell. And then John Hood, all the stuff that he could tell me about being left in the bottom of the canyon when they were supposed to come back and get him, and all his stories about how, you know, when he drove the truck, and he was the sole guy over there. In fact, all that responsibility fell on his shoulders, and you know, he got kind of caught the wrath of not having the right sprocket on there, but there was just nothing he could do. He couldn't make that sprocket, and Dappin and Jim Ratliff, you know, Lee's brother and stuff, how our deal at the Kansas State Fair, and then how we traveled around and went to Atlanta, Georgia. And like I said, I thought my new job was kind of over with when he overjumped his ramp, you know, and fractured his back and stuff. And I thought, guess we won't be going anywhere else here for a while. But that just shows you how wrong that I was on there. You know, he bounced back and went to Oklahoma City and did his jump down there with a big back brace on. It was pretty painful for him to do that, but said he had an obligation. He wanted to be there. The fans were there, and the tickets were already sold, so he said, I got to do something. So he forced himself to go through all of that. But all those memories come back, you know, when you're there and you see the pictures and you see the fans and every people that's talking about it. You go, yeah, that was. So they put a perspective in it, because there for a while and still on a lot of things, you've seen one drag strip, you've seen them all. And unless something memorial happened there, you know, like the truck hitting the back of the airplane hitting the back of the truck, or, you know, the LA Coliseum where that was really publicized, it was a lot different than what we did, the ramp going up into the stands and being on the Johnny Carson show. I mean, that was, you know, memorable deals of where it was at, but Snake River Canyon, Wembley, all of those stuff and everything, you don't remember those until, you know, you go back and people go, were you at Beeline? Were you this? Were you that? Well, we've seen the jet cycle, and it's just got kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's different for us to be as truly the fan looking in and being overwhelmed by it, but being a person who was there and part of it, it's got to be a whole different meaning for you, you know, without a doubt.
Well, one of my good friends that I made when I was working for Evel is Carl Green. I met him out in California. He's a car customizer, and him and Gene Winfield, who is still alive, he's like in his 90s, I think now. But him and Carl was instrumental in making lots of cars for the movies. You know, Back to the Future, they did some stuff with that car. I mean, numerous cars that he did along with Gene. And then they had the Cadillac, the red Cadillac pickup. They did a lot of stuff with that. Also, Carl did a lot of fixing a lot of Evel's cars and stuff. That's Black Hawk convertible, which was only one in the world that they made, and any fender benders and stuff that Evel might have had with it, you know, Carl could fix that. And you just didn't take it down to the local body shop and have them hammer on it. He knew how to do that. But Carl had done an awful lot for Evel and traveled around. Took care of his motorcycle quite a little bit, hauling it all over. Carl lived in Branson. He lived in Sedan, Kansas, and then that's where he also ran into John Mock, who was in the oil business, that wanted to he knew that this guy that Carl worked for at the time in Sedan owned the Cadillac pickup, and John Mock saw it and said that he thought he'd like to buy it. So that's what John over in Eureka, Kansas, another Kansas connection, you know, with evil stuff. And that Cadillac pickup is actually in the museum. We just got in the J.C. Agajanian number 98 that Bettenhauser, the racer, did that from J.C. Agajanian Jr. He has it on loan to the museum for display up there, along with like I say, with a Cadillac pickup, and all the stuff just comes back together. I mean, I remember J.C. Agajanian, the senior, you know, meeting him, and I mean, his son was with us standing there on the ramp, Jay, and then now he's helping with everything, trying to bring all this back together from Ascot, where everything started at. I mean, you see lots and lots of stuff that happened back in the 60s there with Wild World of Sports, you know, interviewing Evil in a suit. That just kind of, you know, with a burr haircut, that just kind of blew me away. Like, wow, it was never seen Evil in a suit before. So it was kind of deal. But I keep asking Mike and those guys. I said, you know, you restored everything else and brought it up. I said, when's my turn? You know, when are you going to start restoring? You know, get a hold of a plastic surgeon. You know, and we'll do some restoration here or something. So, but there was lots of memories at that table. Like I say, Lee, Jim Ratliff, me, Ray Gunn, and John Hood and Rick Noggle. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And then the painter, you know, going back with George Sedlak painting everything. Remember meeting him back in Kewanee, Illinois, when Roger Remy, his mechanic, worked on everything. Here, this is a young, kind of a hippie painter and stuff that did some things. Roger called him over to paint a tank for him and see what you could do, because you know, Evil needs something, and that kind of started George off from doing things. He helped go leave some stuff on the truck at the time that we needed to have touched up and done. And I don't believe you'd recognize George. I don't know where Henry, did you see that picture of George when he was like 20 years old with his Fu Manchu? And he definitely doesn't look like that now.
Looked like he was the lead singer for like Fleetwood Mac or something.
Exactly. Yep. So, but I just can't say enough about the museum, and I'm just no doubt in my mind it's going to continue on. They've got some new stuff coming in, like if you know, later on down the line they need to switch some stuff around, you know, to keep it going. I mean, they're going to have it. I mean, these guys are just really forward thinking on it and what they're going to do with it, and I think they've got some plans in the future of how to make it even bigger and better.
Now, is this going to be like a yearly event they're going to do, like they did this past weekend, like a gathering each year, or?
Well, they're going to try to. I don't know. That's in the making. That I know John Hood said that he would like to make it a yearly deal. He would if he's, you know, physically able to come to it. He'd like to come every year and meet the people. And I mean, John got pretty emotional himself. He said, "This is great." Originally, John wasn't going to come because I think he's 85, and then Ray Gunn is like 87, I think, and Lee's 80. I'm 65. So really, time's not really on our deal. You know, it's one of those deals when you go into a restaurant. Sometimes they make you pay for your meal in advance. Because they think you're not going to make it through the meal or something. But those guys were all, you know, I just can't believe, you know, Ray and John, pretty spry for guys their age. I mean, they were there all day. And I mean, they met and greeted everybody and talked around. Those guys were just dynamite for being there. And like I said, people come by and got all their autographs, which is kind of kind of freaky sometimes because like I said, we didn't jump. And they said, no, but you were there. You helped him. So, to bring us forward. So it was lots of memories and stories that they could tell us. And they had evil tags there, a license tag type that you could have signed. And there were 6 of us there. We got to sign those, but like they got Sedlak to sign them, and anybody else that was there that was at the museum that they wanted to get their autograph and stuff, they had a place to do that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I saw the pictures that John was there, I was like, oh man, I should be there. So, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now. You kind of broke out there for a minute.
No, I said when I saw the pictures that John Hood made, that's when I really got bummed. That I should have really tried to get out there.
Oh yeah, like I said, John wasn't going to come out. Neither was Ray, and and Lathan kept on to him and said, "Oh, we got to be there." And he called back at the last minute. He said, "I'm going to be there." And he went with Ray. Said, "I got to be there," because that was the deal. The grand opening, you couldn't have had anybody else. It's just like, I was telling you about Carl and stuff, about he'd planned on this forever and ever, and doing stuff, and then we brought him up at the factory. He kind of fell. He didn't want to, do any more customizing. He'd been doing some other stuff. See, and he was like in his 70s, and he just didn't really do stuff. Kind of a couch potato here in Wichita when he moved here, and Lathan and I talked to him about it. Why don't you come up to the museum? Well, okay. And this is when it was just starting up and everything. And finally, he kind of seen the vision like everybody else did, and he got excited again. And he was going up there and working on the truck also, and fixing things on those. And the guy that helped repaint the cab and stuff. You couldn't have had better customizers than Carl Green and Todd Williams up there. They just those guys knew what they were doing, and they were both in awe of each other of what they did. So, and then Carl had passed away before all of this deal. I mean, I'm sure he was looking down on us and saying, his biggest thing was, this is going to be a really big thing. That was his favorite sayings and stuff. But his family was all there. Marcia Green was there, and Amanda, and giving her dad support and stuff. So
that's nice.
Pretty
How about the virtual reality jump? Mike or Chemo, did either of you try that?
Oh yes, I did. And that was very, very cool. I mean, you sit on that, and as you're looking around, I mean, you can see the hair, the chest hairs on Doug Danger as when you look down on that virtuality headset, and then you see people in the buildings and people sitting on the side, and once you jump over, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming because you're going at that speed. You see like what Doug, Robbie, and Henry what they witnessed when they hit up to a ramp. It's very, very, very cool.
That's awesome.
How
about you, Mike? Did you try?
And you can watch people do that. How much that they get into that, because you can see how the actual moving the handlebars back and forth, twisting the throttle, pushing on the brake, whatever else it was, the bike does not move. I mean, it is. The other simulation has a fan that blows air onto you. It has a vibration mechanism underneath the seat to give you a little bit of sensation that you're moving, but your eyes and your body does different things of how you lean, and it's kind of different to watch people really lean into the motorcycle when he turns up there. When Doug Danger actually is turning, he didn't hit the curb, but that makes you look like you're going to hit the curb, and you really lean over on the bike and you turn the front end of the bike that way, and some people even put their foot down like they thought they were going to fall over. And they've got a guy that's up there that it helps kind of brace you up there. Henry's mom rode that. I don't know how old your mom is, Henry, but
she's 74, and I'm pleased to say she handled it like a daredevil because I trained her right.
She had those goggles, looked back and forth. You could tell she was looking through the crowd, looking at all the deals. The handlebars moved just enough where it looked like she was riding down the street of doing it, and it really got pretty. That was neat to watch her doing it, And then you got these other guys that on there been riding motorcycles and stuff, and they were leaning over in the seat, clear over to the side, and got the handlebars clear to the left, and in fact, Mike was talking about that he had some customers in over on the historic Harley-Davidson. They were going to buy a motorcycle, and they were signing all the paperwork and doing stuff, and they had a woman that was on the motorcycle that she got pretty intense as far as screaming about how he almost hit the ramp, and she was definitely pretty loud, and these people were like, "What's going on?" "Oh, well, she's riding a simulator motorcycle over there," and they were like, "Well, okay." And then they went back to signing again, and I thought Mike was there. They probably thought they were going to call the police that somebody was abusing this woman over. And so they almost lost the sale over this woman screaming and hollering over there until they went over and finally looked and saw what it was, and I think they even tried it themselves and thought it was pretty neat. But every once in a while, you'll get about every other person or something like that. You might get some of them, but they really get excited and they're like, "Oh," because it does. It feels like you're right there.
It sure does. And Mike, Lee went on it too.
Yes, Lee went on to it. Ray Gunn did it, and John Hood did it.
Oh, no kidding.
I think they all did it. I think Jim did it too, Ratliff and stuff. But it was even his brother Rick Ratliff, he wrote it too. And it
who jumped the furthest?
Jumped the furthest. Well, I had a little trouble. I didn't get enough power at the end of it and stuff. I didn't get quite over it, but yeah. It's pretty neat. It's what was kind of weird about it is I was at that Topeka jump when he's doing that. He had all them cameras stuck on his helmet and stuff, and looked like Medusa with all the snakes in her head and stuff. But anyway, he come riding up there, and I was standing on the corner. And it was kind of neat to put those on and look and I was, "Whoa, there I am, standing on the corner over here." It's kind of, but and it's not just a straight deal. I mean, when you move the goggles like you're looking around on the screen and stuff, you can see people in the stands and whatever it is, and then you look forward, and that's the only kind of control that you have, that you can see back and forth. As far as making the motorcycle move back and forth, or the film was responsive to the motorcycle, that's not. Maybe later on down the line that they might do that, but right now it's rigid and does that. And so your eyes and your brain and your body has to adjust all of that. And I'd have to be the first one to admit that I got a little nauseous. I don't like spin around rides anyway, but this one, my eyes and brain and stuff was telling me, I said, "Hey, you're moving, but you're not." And you get a little nauseous sometimes. Makes you a little lightheaded anyway.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Well, I truly do hope that.
Lathan has told me that if I get down there and jump, they're going to put that helmet on me, and then you guys will get the Pitbull experience too. So that'd be kind of cool because I want to jump some semis with ATV. So let's hope we get that done.
Right on.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would definitely be cool. And I hope they do this like a yearly thing. I truly do. I think it would be a nice little. We know they do the Evil Days out in Butte, but.
Well, I think Lathan's trying to make I think that's the plan. He's wanting to make Evil Days Midwest version, and the focal point be that museum, and make it a yearly event. I think that's his hope.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Truly awesome. Cool. Well, and Henry, we didn't get what was your favorite part of the museum?
Big Red. It was Mike can tell you, I've harped and bitched and moaned about that for years. Getting that taken care of, getting it out of the elements and getting it fixed. And
we had to call security. We had to call security to get him out. He was bogeying it a little bit, so we had to, other people to see it. So
I can actually tell you my favorite experience is Big Red, but there's a picture now. I've seen it on the wall of Evil sitting inside Big Red, and I recreated it. I think I sent that to you. I told Lathan I wanted to do it, and he liked the idea, so he took me in there, shut the door, chased everybody out, shut the door, and we spent 5-10 minutes getting it just right. He took a bunch of pictures, and we got to do that, and that was pretty much mission accomplished. We got it where it should be, and now that thing's gonna live forever now.
That's awesome. I kind of wished we'd have done that, the reenactments and deals. I was gonna, if Earl would have shown up, I was going to do a reenactment beside the door. But, that picture that you helped kind of do some stuff on, well, you did it. You changed Lee and I around and put our picture on when we were standing beside the motorcycle at one of the dealerships.
Yeah.
And Lathan had taken a picture of Lee and I. We'd gone up to Rhode Island, and Lee and I was standing beside outside the restaurant and stuff, and we kind of struck the same pose that was in this picture a long time ago, and then Henry photoshopped it into there and fixed the picture all up and stuff, and when we were a little bit older anyway. And so yeah, you doing that deal in that, and the other one I would have probably done is either done John Hood, and superimposed him on that motorcycle looking at Wembley, or Ray Gunn, with the snake deal, of being in the veterinarian coat and stuff, and so it's kind of fun to do all of that and do little what we look like now. Where are all of that now?
It's kind of fun for me. I threw out a couple ideas to Mike. What's his last name? Patterson, is that right?
Yeah, Mike Patterson. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the owner of Historic Harley-Davidson. I threw a couple ideas out. I think, this is my humble opinion, I think they should have Evel Knievel Days there. That's where everything's at. Plus, I think they should have a Daredevil Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame dinner. Even if it's just a little plaque. These are the people Evel has influence as part of the legacy. Hell, they could even do like a walk of fame, pour the concrete, and put the autographs in there, because these guys are not going to be around forever. And that's just neat little things that keep the fans connected to these people. Like Gene Sullivan, he's like 72 now, I think, and he's still jumping. And I tell you what, that guy grabbed a hold of my hand. He felt like he's going to rip my arm out of the socket. He's a big strapping boy still, so very impressive. But as much as we hate to admit it, we're not going to be around forever, and we're not going to be doing this forever. And I know they said, we want to get some freestyle guys there. My personal opinion is that, personally, they're great athletes and everything, but you can only watch a backflip so much. I like watching the ramp jumpers. That's me. I'm kind of a bridge between old school and the new school a little bit, and that's what does it for me, and that's what this... it's Evel Knievel. It's not Travis Pastrana. Right. Evel influenced Travis for sure. He's great, but there's enough old school jumpers out there. I think they should be appreciated. Just my humble 2 cents.
I agree. I think that's would be a great idea to do it on a yearly thing. Like many Daredevils followed Evel, Robbie. That never got, the acclaim that Evel did, but should still have be honored in some type of way.
And there's several of them that paid for it with their lives.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got, in this museum is chock full of Evel Knievel stuff, but there is room. You could put, and you could even rotate it, a couple months at a time. A little display of the legacy of Evel, who he influenced, something like that. I think during this Evel Knievel days, they should have like an autograph day. Anybody that's a jumper should be invited to come. And you sit there and meet and take pictures and sign autographs and give posters away. You know, it should be all about the fans. It should be all about, helping connect and put a face to these names and actually show what they've done. And, I know that includes myself a little bit, and I don't mean it in a self-serving way. I just, I know what that stuff meant to me when I was young, and this is the way you keep it alive, by having an emotional connection with these people that come in here and look at this museum.
Right. Right on. Cool. Well, anything else anybody wants to add before we close up shop?
Did you guys talk anything about Robbie doing his new puppet show?
We got into that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
what were your? Did he do it for everybody, or was it a little closed audience?
Well, anytime he's around, you're kind of the audience. I mean, he came from the airport and had them, and came into the lobby of the hotel that way. But I didn't get to see them. We were inside the museum, and finally somebody come in, and I said, "Where'd you go to?" And he goes, "Oh, and then Robbie was doing his puppet show," and I went, "Ah." So a lot of us missed it. So I don't know all about just what I've seen of it. It looks like it's pretty fun. And then, like say, when he brought him into the lobby, he was doing some stuff with it. So, but he'll even admit, he said, it's new something for him. He says, I think it'll catch on, but he said, I do need to do a little polishing on it and stuff. So, I'm
Mike,
sure that
were you like me? Did you think that might be something that might be a little beneath him at first?
Oh, I didn't. My phone or your phone broke out.
Yeah, he said, do you think it might have been a little, when he first talked about originally doing this, did you think it was maybe beneath him to do something like this?
Well, I don't know whether it's beneath him or, it's like anything, you can go from jumping and stuff, and I think it was more of a release to hook back up to his dad. I know that he misses his dad a lot and stuff, and I think this is just his way to, his way of connecting back with his dad and stuff, of all the, there for a long time, they were at odds and stuff, and
right.
I think it was him just connecting back up, and, Robbie's had some tumbles and stuff back and forth, and, to get back on track and stuff, and I think this is one of the things I think he can do, and, it's one of the things you can't jump forever, and he's probably getting pretty close to that point that his back is really, really messed up, and for him to try to please his fans to continue to jump, I think he's putting himself in lots of danger about doing that. So
I think he has another jump coming up.
I don't know. They were talking about there's one going to be in Florida.
He signed a contract for one. Yeah, he said he did.
Yeah, I think he's got one down in Florida. Like in November 11th or something like that, because he was inviting me down to do that, and I'm like, what? So I don't know. I just, I know he wants to continue jumping, but there's just there's a point where, he really, last time that he had jumped, when they fixed his back and stuff, he pulled a lot of screws and some other stuff loose in it, and the doctor told him, he said, quit, you need to slow down or quit doing this or do little short jumps or something, but he did a real long one, to prove that he could, and that's another thing. Sometimes your fans push you that, wow, that wasn't very far, oh, you need to do this, and that wasn't,
right.
Didn't look dangerous at all, and, I don't know, I'm not a jumper myself, but I imagine when somebody, well, that's a challenge. Oh, you don't think I can do that, do you? And
right.
So they try to, please their fans by doing that, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, Robbie can still make his personal appearances, sign autographs, and be remembered for all the great stuff that he did and all the stuff that he was doing, and still enjoy him, showing his dad off when he was younger and jumping, and he's also got one where his dad's a lot older when he was going through his COPD and stuff, and He even has a little plastic nose counters underneath the nose on his dad for his oxygen deal. So he left no stone unturned. I mean, you got the elderly Evil in street clothes and stuff, and then he got him with a candler in his nose, and then he has the other one all in his full leathers and cape and stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's kind of a relief for Robbie too to do that, and to also go back and remember all the things that his dad did and son. It was funny, and it was. There's some things that Evil did, and I'm sure that they got to. It was pretty fun for him to do. So I wish him well with that. I hope he does real well with that, so he doesn't have to bust his butt anymore. That's just not.
Yeah, it makes me very nervous that he's actually going to jump again. Yeah.
But see, I want him to do just what his dad did at the later deal. So I went after Evil retired, or really retired about doing that, and met Crystal and Evil over in Sedalia, Missouri. This is before he got his COPD, and he showed up over there, and John Mock brought the Cadillac pickup inside a Cruisers Club over there. We'd found a pinball machine we put in there. Carl Green was there with the Evil Eagle, and brought the other motorcycle and put it in the back of the truck. It was kind of a mini tour deal at that deal, and Evil signed a whole bunch of autographs and had lots of kids waiting in line to come up there and sign stuff. And then I met him down at Miami, Oklahoma, not Miami, but Miami, Oklahoma, at the Buffalo Chip Casino down there where they put on. And Evil used to have his big motorhome that he come down and put had a big trailer on behind it that had that statue that you saw there in the museum at the entrance. Had all the motorcycles, had the jump motorcycle in there, and had a street motorcycle, all the programs. Had a skeleton that had little pinpoints on it that showed his injuries, and then hydraulically the doors would open up on the side of it. Well, they had that inside this big arena inside the Buffalo Chip, and showed it off, and he would sign autographs in there. But at that time, his COPD had kicked in, and he could only do like an hour at a time without with his machine on. He didn't like that too well, being out in the public with that on him. So he tried to do as best that he could, and he could always tell when he got at the end he got really short of breath, and he'd had to cut a lot of the. I used to watch him just hundreds of people, and he'd sit there and write autographs with no problem. But with that type of deal, it really got pretty bad. About an hour at a time, he was like, I need to get up. I need to go get my machine on and do that. And then I met him back down at, the first time I met him down in Oklahoma City. He was at a Lynn Hickey Dodge. They were doing, Lynn Hickey did a promotional deal to sell 3,000 cars. And they were hoisted up in the air with Lynn Hickey, the owner, and Tom Parks, who was the guy that travels around selling cars and stuff for dealerships. And then Evil was up there, and they did some like blast these prices and stuff. And they looked like they had one of them little mini rocket launchers, and then they looked like they were shooting at lower prices and stuff. And then this film had come up showing them blowing a car up or something. But this van was hoisted 300-400 feet up in the air on a crane, and while they sat up there, and it was a big promotion. I mean, there were lots of people there. Another autograph deal for doing that. Crystal was with him then, but he was driving his Aston Martin Lagonda then. And then the next time he went down and helped after this other one down in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I traveled down there and watched him. He had a display set up there also. To sign autographs, and then I can't think of the son's name. It's not, maybe his name is also Lynn. But anyway, he was, every car that they sold, or every 2 cars or something like that, they would put a car in between, spread the ramps out a little bit and stuff. And I'm sure he was kind of hoping they wouldn't sell too many cars that day, because he stretched it way out there. But anyway, he jumped a distance, and Evel come up and introduced him and said he was giving him some pointers and stuff and how to do this, and he made a successful jump. And but like I said, Evel, anytime that he was crossing and coming this way, pretty close to me in Missouri, Oklahoma, or something like that, I usually go and see what he was doing for his appearances. And I'm hoping that's what Robbie will do eventually, and quit doing this, because he's just really screwing himself up, and be able to go and at the museum, he proved that. They had a line at his table, to sign autographs. And to me, that's what he needs to start doing, instead of, he doesn't have to continue to jump to get his rewards of people remember him and autographs and helmets and stuff like that. I'm hoping that's what he can still do. And then, and he proved it there at the museum when they had a table set up for him, and when I come through there, he had a pretty good line through there, everybody waiting on to sign an autograph. So still a crowd, he can still pull a crowd to doing that, and I think he can do it without doing any jumps. So hope he does that.
I agree. I think if he can get like somebody, sad to say, but somebody like an Evel behind him with Evel's brain and knowledge for being able to, like we've said many times, sell himself, he would be able to just do that and not have to take his life in danger.
Right, and that's, and like I said, I think that's where Robbie's changing around. He was trying to be like his dad. He is enthusiastic, he does, but he doesn't have quite the promotional deal that his dad, the charisma and stuff about doing that. It just, but, and not to take anything from Robbie, he'll tell you, he says, I'm not the greatest my dad was. And, he said, if I can just do half of what he did and survive, he said, I'll be really happy and stuff. So, but he got, had made some wrong decisions here and there and stuff. And, what I've seen Robbie, it sounds like he's gotten pretty sincere, and he's, getting a lot better. So I think he'll do okay.
I think so too.
Yep.
Cool. So anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we close up, or?
I just want to really thank everybody involved, all the crew, Lathan, Robbie Hall, Mike Patterson, Marilyn. Man, they did a fantastic job, and this is something, even if you're just a casual fan, it's something to experience. It's the best $20 you'll ever spend.
Yep.
And I hope they do it Evel Days. I would love to come there and perform at least once. I would love to do it for a couple of years, but even if I don't, it was well worth going. I had a ball meeting everybody. Everybody's very kind, very friendly, very helpful. And I'm sorry you didn't get to go, babe, but the one last thing I want to say is, you remember that artwork I did and had the shirt made out of?
Well, which looked amazing.
Yep.
Well, I got the whole crew to sign it. Yeah. I had the whole crew sign the sleeve.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I saw you wearing it, I was, ooh, that looks so good.
I had so many people, where did you get that shirt? I'm not telling. And it was great to meet Darren and Brian and Ethan and my new friend Chemo. He's a great guy. And, yeah, that's pretty much a great way to wrap it up for me, and hope to do it again next year.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
Yeah. Is Chemo still there?
Chemo, nice, yes, nice talking to you, meeting you. Mike, it's always a pleasure. Love when you call in with your stories. Henry, as always, you're the Pitbull.
Yeah. Well, that was the biggest thing at the factory. I told, we were at the table, I said, what were you doing? And I said, well, John was lying, and I was backing him up on it. So it's one of those deals about doing. So But yeah, I'm glad Chemo come out. You know, we had dinner and stuff, and all the fans that were there. Bob Cook was there at the dinner with us. Yeah, just from start to finish, it was great.
Well, we are definitely going to be doing another Evel Knievel show later in the year, but we're also Henry and myself are going to go slightly off the Evel Knievel path also later in the year, and we're going to have a show that's been like an ongoing joke argument between Henry and myself for probably at least a year now.
Bigfoot is bullshit.
And we have now roped in part of the Knievel family into it with Robbie's daughter. Kristen's going to be involved, and we're going to do a big discussion on is Bigfoot real or, as Henry said, bullshit. So before we let everybody go, Mike, your thoughts. Is Bigfoot real or bullshit?
It's unknown at this time. I don't have enough facts to give a deal, so there's no comment on this end so far.
How about you?
How's that for a cop out? Yeah,
that was. If politicians can make a comment like that, we'd be a much happier world.
Exactly. I'll tweet you my answer. So.
Chemo, your thoughts. What do you think?
I think the jury's still out, but I've seen some people walking around that have some pretty big feet.
Do they have a Hawaiian version of Bigfoot? Chemo, is there a Hawaiian version of Bigfoot?
Yeah, you go to some of the elementary schools in Honolulu, you'll see some of these guys who got really big feet.
Oh boy!
So there's bullshit in Hawaii too, right?
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Pineapple.
On that note, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. What's that, Henry?
Well, thanks for having the program and stuff.
I said thanks, guys. Happy 4th. I'll talk to you later, Bay.
There
happy
you go.
4th to everybody.
Okay.
You too.
Thank you.
From Vegas.
Bye-bye.
See you all. All right, everybody, there they go. There goes the crew. Henry, Mike, Chemo. Excuse me. Happy 4th of July from myself. To everybody, hope everybody has a happy and safe holiday. Enjoy whatever festivities you got going on. Enjoy some fireworks tonight. And remember, happy landings, everybody, and color me lucky. And until our next Evel Knievel special, stay driven. Make sure you check us out, Totally Driven Entertainment. Look for us all over the world of social media, Totally Driven Entertainment, Totally Driven Radio. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And also check out our website, totallydrivenentertainment.com. And make sure you go check out for info on the Evel Knievel Museum. I'm pretty sure it's just evilmuseum.com. I think that's what it is. It's out there in Topeka, Kansas. And thanks to Lathan and the crew for putting that all together for us. And, happy landings, everybody. Be safe. Take care. Stay driven.